Let's talk about Deebo, who everyone's up in arms about. Deebo wants to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. Probably not going to get it. He has already negotiated himself down to $25 million. He posted that kind of on Instagram, and Tony Pauline reported it as well. $25 million a year. So that's 5 years, $125 million, maybe 60 guaranteed. Why is that so? Why does that piss people off so much, but not the Bosa number? That's crazy to me.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, it's
a mystery.
It's interesting. I say that.
We put that. Yeah.
Maybe it's just who people like more. Maybe the person. I don't know.
I mean,
maybe it's, you don't hear about Bosa because it hasn't even been a conversation on social media about it, and maybe it hasn't because he hasn't made a big deal out of it. But I think even then, even before Deebo made a big deal out of everything going on, people were still saying, like, "Oh, like, you can't pay Deebo this much," and you haven't heard that about Nick Bosa.
Right. I mean, like with Bosa, it's not even a question. You just pay him whatever he's. You do not let go of generational pass rushers. You don't do it. With Deebo, it's like Kyle can create another one. Oh, word. He can. Like Dante Pettis. Is that what you're telling me? I mean, I think it's a little weird. And like, again, what did Deebo do to get the fan base to kind of turn on him? He took down some pictures. What did he do? He said slime.
They're calling him
Diva.
It's like well, they're calling him Diva, but they kind of did this like witty thing with his name and put Diva in it. And
he took down some pictures.
Meanwhile,
Nick Bosa has his own history with social media, and people are like, dude, whatever it takes to keep this guy long term. I'm not saying don't keep. Well, I am saying don't keep Bosa, but I'm just saying not for that. But it's just crazy how people won't even have the discussion on Bosa. You couldn't have the discussion on trading Kittle, but Deebo, one false move, one misstep on social media, you take one picture down, it's over. Trade him, not worth it. I think that's silly. To me, 125, a 60 guaranteed is worth it for a guy who, I don't know. I mean, how many wins a season is Deebo worth when healthy? Well, how many games?
I mean, how many was he worth last year? I mean, a few. There are a few games where, if you don't have a Deebo, you're. I mean, even the playoffs and kind of what he did, and then putting it in the ball in his hands down the stretch. I mean, kickoff return where he ran the ball to midfield. I mean, it's his value to the team to me is immense. And I saw somebody in the chat say, "Oh, you can find another or receiver. They're harder to find than DNs." But I think it's harder to find a Deebo Samuel than anything else. He's a guy. He had over 1,800 yards, and 14 touchdowns, and in the way he impacted the game. And that was with him missing a game, and that was with him for a couple games limiting his touches, and he still did that. Like,
he's a threat to score from anywhere on the field at two positions. There's no one else in the league like that. And to me, I mean, if he's worth 4 wins, if that's really what his worth was, if they were a 6-11 team without him last year and 10-7, and we don't know for sure, but that's what I'm guessing. Man, that's what quarterbacks do for teams. Good quarterbacks have that kind of an impact. 4 wins in a season. You're a wide receiver. To me, there's a reason why all these wide receivers are getting paid. I think the analytics are in. Teams have figured it out. They've seen what Jamar Chase and Deebo Samuel have done. And they're like, you know what? We need to pay these guys because they're still cheaper than quarterbacks. And look at the impact they have. So Deebo, I think it's fair to give him 60 million guaranteed. Even 70 million, you probably don't have to do it because you can use his injury stuff against him. But I think it's fair. I think it's fair for him to ask for it.
I think they came in at way less than 70 million.
They probably insulted him. And why would you want to insult your best player? Why? I mean, I guarantee you they're not going to insult Nick Bosa. I can't guarantee it. I just have a strong feeling they're not going to insult Nick Bosa. So why would you do it to Deebo? Why?
Yeah, the Bosas, they're going to play hardball. But, yeah, they're definitely doing it with Deebo. And, again, it comes back to the whole thing with DeForest Buckner where they were far apart on the negotiations and wouldn't even meet him halfway. They just traded him.
Yeah, and I think from Parag's perspective, he's like, we're not going to pay a defensive tackle $20 million a year unless he's Aaron Donald, period. And I think Parag could, say something like here, we're not going to pay a wide receiver $30 million a year unless he's Jerry Rice, period. Who are you? I mean, that's just kind of how the Niners do business. I tried to tell Deebo, he blocked me. I don't know. It's not, I tried. G. Gala says, theory, Deebo forced the Niners to release Jimmy Garoppolo, thinking that freed up money would get him his contract. Basically, you won't trade me and keep Jimmy. Oh yeah,
He won't do that though, because Jimmy. I think he feels like Jimmy's a part of him making as much money as he's about to make.
Good point. Maybe the reason he's doing all this is because he's not excited to play with Trey Lance. That's another conspiracy theory.
That can 100% be.
We could go there.
Now again,
new quarterback. I need $700 million to play with Trey Lance. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
From his perspective, I mean, you could say like, listen, like I make your quarterbacks better.
Yes.
Or if it's Trey Lance and he's young and because remember a couple years ago, Antonio Brown was traded to Buffalo, and then all of a sudden it went away because he didn't want to go to Buffalo and play with Josh Allen. And then all of a sudden, Diggs was traded to Buffalo, and even then, I went back and I looked at the comments, and people like laughed at it, like, "Oh wow, he hated playing with Kirk Cousins. Wait till he plays with Josh Allen."
I saw that.
And until a guy like really proves that at the quarterback position, like, okay, yeah, I am here, I can do this. It's probably hard to be able to count on that. So if I'm Deebo, and I've been watching Trey Lance, and I don't feel like he's necessarily ready to distribute the ball to me the way that Jimmy Garoppolo was. Like, yeah, I mean, I could see me being a little, weary of the situation there, and will my numbers take a hit? Even though he had numbers, I mean, when playing with Trey Lance last year, he scored multiple touchdowns. He, whatever. But I mean, I don't know how Deebo sees it.
It's uncertain. Just for it's like you said, like people didn't want to play with Josh Allen right away. That's very interesting to me. I wonder if part of the reason the Niners signed mostly defense and special teams in free agency is, good offensive players might want to know who the quarterback is. And they're like, we'll get back to you. We'll let you know. Like, Ray McCloud didn't seem to mind. They paid him enough money. Everybody
money talks, man. Like they say that, but man, if you pay a guy, remember when the 49ers first got there, they were able to get Pierre Garçon and Alec Robinson and Kyle Juszczyk. Like, not because it was a great place to go. Their quarterback was Brian Hoyer and Matt Barkley. But it was but y'all paying me what? How much a year? Yeah. I'll take it.
Thank you very much. You're setting me up for life. I'll do it. El Jefe says everybody can't have the best contracts in the league. Man, that sounds like something you would read in like a fortune cookie. I agree. That is true about life. Murphy says, Croc, Jimmy on roster still equals 7 holes. Your 3 equals 10 holes. For real, though, if you truly believe in Trey, keep everyone. You can go win a Super Bowl. Just figure it out, Parag. Your math genius, Ranswood. That's the thing. Remember, the Niners are all about running it back last year. They said that so much. They're not really about that anymore. They're like, we need to get younger. We need to move on. Right. Interesting. Is that a rebuild? Is that a reload? A reload?
I think they're reloaded. I mean, the roster is really good. Again, we talk about holes. I saw someone say that, no, they have all these, middle linebacker and edge rusher. And it's like, no, edge rusher is not a hole. Like, if you're saying you want an elite guy opposite Nick Bosa, which on most teams isn't realistic.
Yeah.
Then, okay, I guess you could say edge as a whole. But no, they got Eminehu. They got the guy that came over, Sosa, Ebukam. They got Kerry Hyder that they have coming back and playing. I mean, they have, Jordan Willis. I mean, there's plenty of guys there that can contribute opposite Nick Bosa. That's not a hole or receiver. I saw a running back on there, like receiver. You have 2 legit receivers in Ayuk and Deebo, and you have another pass catcher in George Kittle. Like, okay, and then you went and signed Ray McCloud, and you had Juwan Jennings, who you like. Like, there's not a hole. Like running back, like that's not a hole. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can get an undrafted guy coming and play. So they don't have a lot of holes. They do have areas where they can improve, though.
Official BNA Music 88 says Deebo took over all of 2021. Bosa hasn't wrecked a game since Carolina in 2019. Well, here's what I'm saying, though. Like, there's something to this. As great as Bosa is and as important as sacks are, what Deebo does is more important. Like, someone who can score from anywhere on the field, from far out at any given time. That's like a pick six. I mean, it flips the field. It puts points on the board. It's hard to beat that. That's really
I would say in most cases on most teams, the edge rusher that is really good, like Bosa is more important than a receiver. But that's not the case with the 49ers with how they use Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, I mean, strangely, the Niners have had a top 5 defense for an entire season without Nick Bosa. You took Deebo away for an entire season, the offense would struggle, I think.
Well, it did struggle.
It did struggle, yeah. That's a good point. Jordan says, why doesn't anyone mention Nicholas Petit-Frere, offensive tackle from Ohio State with our first pick? Dude's a great offensive tackle and a former 5-star recruit. What do you think?
I haven't watched enough of him yet.
All right.
Well, I have heard his name. I have heard his name, but
Maybe the Niners will go there. I mean, although Mike McGlinchey says he weighs 310 pounds, I thought it was a little suspect just taking a picture of a scale saying 310. Like, okay, well, are you on the scale? Like, what's up with that? Can we get
he was carrying this
like,
jug of water. He was holding this jug of water and had his phone in the other hand. Like,
I don't know, man. Like, I'm naturally skeptical of that. You know what I'm saying? Remember that episode of Chappelle's Show where he was like really skeptical about hella things like the R. Kelly tapes? Like, I'm gonna need to see some government ID. Like, I'm sorry. That's not good